Hi everyone, are you preparing for the Scrum Master interview but confused about where to start? Then this video is for you. In this video, I'll share a structured process with you guys which you can use to prepare for your Scrum Master interview. And if you follow this structure, you will not take more than 15 to 20 days to prepare for this interview. So let's begin with this discussion and let's see what are the points that you will understand by the end of this video. The first thing is a structured way to prepare for the Scrum Master interview from scratch. So if this is the first time when you are preparing for the Scrum Master interview, then it should not take more than 15 to 20 days for you to prepare for this role, because the concepts are pretty easy, but it's very hard to implement in real time. So if your objective is just to crack the interview and then you will manage stuff once you become a Scrum Master, then you will not take more than 15 to 20 days. So what's the structured process that you should follow? What are the stages that you should be following to prepare for this Scrum Master interview? That's something that we'll be discussing first. Then the second point is around the essential skill specifically for first time Scrum Masters. So many of you might be transitioning to IT industry, many of you might be non-tech Scrum Masters, or many of you might be internally transitioning into the Scrum Master role. So when I say transitioning to a different industry, I am talking about those people who are currently working in manufacturing industry or in sales industry and they want to move into IT industry. So what are the essential skills that you should be focusing on if you're transitioning from one industry to another industry? That's something that we'll be discussing. Second scenario is the scenario where people are making transitions from one domain within IT industry to another domain within IT industry. For example, you may be working as a tester, a production support engineer, or you might be a QA, or you might be working as as a project manager. But now you need to understand Scrum Master role, maybe because some of you want to climb the hierarchy because Scrum Master is a mid-senior position, therefore it interests you. Many of you might be preparing because of the salary package. So that's one of the reasons because of which many people try to become a Scrum Master. So what are the essential skills that you should be focusing on? That's something that I'll be discussing as a second step. And then finally, I'll share a couple of tips, or you can say it as insights. So I have trained more than 200 people from different IT service and product-based companies. I have trained VPs and directors also, and I have helped them understand what is Scrum, what is Agile ways of working. So based on my training experience, I have gained certain insights that I'll be sharing in my third point, which I'm sure will be very beneficial for you if you are preparing for your Scrum Master interview. So let's begin our discussion with our first point, and I call it as the three-step interview prep process. And this is the exact framework which I generally use when I train my clients, and the exact framework I'll be sharing with you so that you can follow this framework to prepare for your Scrum Master interview as well. The first stage is the fundamental stage, second stage is the practical stage, and the third stage is the technical stage. So always follow this sequence. Always begin with fundamental stage, then go to practical stage, and then complete your technical stage. Now let me give you a basic understanding about each of these stages and why they are important and what benefit you will get out of each of these stages. Let's begin with the fundamental stage. Guys, see, you need to begin with fundamental stage because of two reasons. The first reason is this is a mid-senior position. Scrum Master is a mid-senior position, or you can imagine it as a team lead position or tech lead position, right? So when you apply for a mid-senior position, then nobody is going to ask you a direct question, right? Nobody is going to ask you what is a sprint, what are Scrum artifacts, how many Scrum events are there, right? So these are direct questions. These are fresher questions, but nobody hires a fresher Scrum Master. Therefore, you need to prepare for the scenario-based questions. And to answer those scenario based questions, most of the people generally go on Google, they generally go to YouTube videos, they generally use ChatGPT or other LLM models, and they try to memorize all those scenario based questions. See guys, there are hundreds of scenario based questions, and I don't think that humanly it is possible for you or for me or for anyone to memorize all those hundreds of questions, right? So the better approach is to understand the fundamental concepts of agile, and and try to make them as a common sense, so that in your interview, instead of memorizing those words, you can directly have a discussion. You should be able to invent your own answers, and you should be able to explain those concepts very easily, very comfortably. Therefore, to answer scenario based questions in your interview, you really need to begin with fundamental stage. That's first thing. The second reason to start with fundamental stage is to understand the mindset of a scrum master. What do I mean by mindset? See, if you are, let us say, if you are a salesperson, so you have a mindset of salesperson, right? When you go to your office, when you need to perform a sale, then you think differently. You think like a salesperson. Similarly, if you are in a manufacturing industry, you have a manufacturing mindset. If you are a software engineer, then you think differently. You think in terms of logics and functions and objects, right? Similarly, if you are a data scientist, then you have a different ways of deciding which model to select, which features to select to train this machine learning model. Similarly, as a scrum master, you should understand the mindset of this role, how a scrum master should behave, how a scrum master should engage with team members, how a scrum master should be managing the team, what are the key concepts that you as a scrum master should understand, right? So to understand the mindset of this role, you need to understand fundamental. So if you observe on this slide, I have mentioned 5 stars at the top of fundamental stage. It basically, these stars are basically highlighting the importance of each of these stages, and fundamental stage is the most important stage because it's like the base of everything. It decides the mindset that you will have as a scrum master, and all the subsequent stages, that is practical stage and technical stage, are highly dependent and influenced by your fundamental understanding. Therefore, always begin with fundamental stage. Good part is it is most important and it is very easy to understand. Okay, so always begin with it. In fact, very soon I'll be uploading my next video where I'll be delivering you the first lecture of fundamental stage. In my training course, I have 3 fundamental stage lectures, and I'll be uploading first lecture very soon, and then I'll see when I'll get time to upload the remaining lectures as well. So here you go, always begin with fundamental stage first. Once you understand the fundamental stage, now you're ready to answer the scenario based questions, and now you are ready to move to the next stage, which is practical stage. Now, when I say practical stage, I'm mostly talking about how you're going to spend your time, how you're going to spend your 8 hours in a company as a scrum master. That level of understanding you should have before you appear in the interview. It will give you enough confidence to face the interviewer, because now you will not feel like you are trying to make a story, because you understand your day-to-day activities and you can just engage in that discussion, right? So uh, so when you understand your day-to-day activities, or imagine this. Imagine today you become a scrum master. You should know what are the things that you need to put in place in the first 2 months of your job. Okay, should you begin with Jira dashboard? Should you begin with Scrum calendar? Should you set up your working agreement first? Should you have your kickoff meeting with the team? Should you engage with PO first? Should you set up your artifacts like sprint backlog or product backlog first? How exactly are you going to start your role? How exactly are you going to start your job as a new scrum master to a team? So that level of understanding you should be having. So what are the things that you'll be doing on a day-to-day basis? Should you be creating tickets? Should you be finalizing the issue hierarchy? How many issue types do you have? Or what kind of dashboards are you making? What kind of communication do you have with your team? What kind of events are you having? What kind of artifacts are you maintaining? So all these things are your day-to-day activities, and you should understand these things. if you are preparing for the Scrum Master interview. Okay, now good part is practical stage will become very easy to understand if you understand fundamental stage, because fundamental stage is just like a theory and practical stage is the implementation of theory in real time, in real time environment. So practical stage, prepare practical stage as the second stage, uh, uh, to to understand your day-to-day activity as well as to understand the exact activities that you need to perform in your first 2 month as a Scrum Master. Okay, now let's go to the third technical stage. So now you have completed your fundamental stage, you can answer scenario based questions. After fundamental stage, you have completed your practical stage, and now you can answer your day-to-day activities related questions and answers. Now that now you're ready to move to the third and the final stage, which is technical stage. So technical stage is nothing else but the implementation side of the Scrum. So you understand foundation, fundamental, you understand the practical, but now how are you going to implement this Scrum framework on a work management tool like Jira? Okay, so in technical stage you can go ahead and start understanding tools like Jira, Rally, Azure DevOps, and you can understand how to implement this Scrum framework on Jira specifically, right? Because I'm working on Jira, so I'll be saying Jira, but different companies use different work management tools. Good part is if you understand one of these tools, it becomes easy to understand other tools, right? So don't worry about it. If you learn Jira, then it's okay, and in your interview you can tell them like I have experience um, with Jira, and that's not an issue. But technical stage mostly uh, suggests but technical stage is mostly about implementing the the Scrum framework in Jira, right? So this is the stage where you need to understand what is Jira, how to create Jira board, how to configure Jira board, how to set up workflow, what are rich filters, what kind of automations you can put in place. Okay, what kind of dashboards you will be making. For example, you can go ahead and make a Jira hygiene dashboard and delivery dashboards. So these two dashboards are more than enough to share all the kind of reports that your stakeholders may need. Then in technical stage only you need to understand different type of reports which are auto generated on Jira, right? So good part is nobody is going to ask you these questions in the interview. For example, nobody is going to tell you write a JQL query in your interview. Okay, nobody is going to tell you like okay set up a an automation rule. Okay, nobody will tell you like draw a roadmap in your interview, right? These are practical things, these are the things that you'll be doing on your job. In fact, you will be spending almost 95% of your time um, on Jira when you become a Scrum Master, right? So that is a real thing that you'll be doing, but that is not that important from an interview perspective. So if you're just preparing to crack the interview, in that case, just focus on fundamental stage and practical stage and then move to the technical stage. I generally suggest you prepare your fundamental and practical stage thoroughly, and once these two stages are done, start preparing for the interviews and parallelly start working on your technical stage. It will require some practice before you understand the technical stage, but don't worry, it's very easy. In fact, it will hardly take 7 days. There are only couple of operations that you need to perform, and as a Scrum Master, you need not to understand Jira end to end. There are a couple of functionalities which you should understand, and if you understand those functionalities, that's more than enough to justify your job. There actually is a Jira admin role that will be there in a company. Okay, so as a Scrum Master you need to understand couple of functionalities, for example roadmap building, release plan building, Jira board building, board configuration, quick filters, couple of automations. These are 5 or 6 functionalities which if you know, and dashboard making and report analysis, right? So if you know these 6 to 8 functionalities in Jira, then it's more than enough. Nothing else is required. If you need to understand more about Jira board, what are the skills, what are the functionalities that you should be learning in Jira as a Scrum Master, feel free to reach out to me on the shared email ID, and I'll be more than happy to connect with you and try to share more information with you. All right. But yes, these are the three stages in which I train my clients, and I highly recommend you guys to complete your preparation following this framework only. All right. So on my next slide, I have also given these pointers which you can take a screenshot of. So in fundamental stage, this is like a quick revision of each of these three stages. So prepare fundamental stage first to build the Scrum Master mindset and prepare for the scenario based interview questions. Once your fundamental stage is done, then move to the practical stage and understand the key activities that you need to perform in the first 2 months of your job as a Scrum Master. Then understand the events, dependencies, risk management related concepts, event calendar concepts, type of events, what's their purpose, what are the artifacts. So try to understand those things. The practical stage will help you answer day-to-day interview based questions. Okay, day-to-day interview questions basically. Once your fundamental and practical stages are done, then move to the technical stage. Technical stage basically means implementing Scrum in Jira, right? So these are the three stages, and I hope you found these three stages insightful. Now moving to the next slide, where I want to discuss a little bit about the essential skills for fresh Scrum Masters, right? All right. Now that you have understood the three-step process for preparing the Scrum Master interview, let's move to the next point and try to understand the essential skills that you will be requiring to crack this interview. Now, before I start discussing these essential skills, I'd like to target two type of people who might be viewing this video at this moment. So first type of people are those people who are making industry transitions, and second type of people are those people who are making domain transitions. So industry transitions are those people who are currently working in completely different industry. Maybe you are working as salesperson or manufacturing guy, or you may be into banking, but maybe to increase your salary you want to move into IT industry. Okay. The second type of people are domain transition people. These are those people who are already working inside an IT industry, who are already working with IT company, and they want to climb the hierarchy from individual contributor role. Okay. So these are the profiles like testers, production support engineers, or QA quality guys, or you may be just a project manager who is trying to understand agile, because nowadays a project manager is also expected to understand agile ways of working. So these are the two type of people who might be preparing for the Scrum Master interview. The first one is industry transition, people who are making industry transitions, and the second one are people who are making domain transition. So for both of you, these three skills are very important, and you need to focus on these skills, because many a times when you prepare for the Scrum Master interview, you just focus on understanding Jira and reading Scrum Guide and try to crack the CSM certification. By the way, my recommendation is not to spend your money on certifications, because anyway those certifications will not help you to crack the interviews. To crack the interviews, you need to gain some real time hands-on experience knowledge. So I would highly recommend you to try to crack the interview first and then ask your employer to pay for your certification. Okay. So that's just a suggestion, but you can decide on your own as well. So coming back to the essential skills, so whether you are making an industry transition or whether you are making a domain transition, you should focus on your people skill, you should focus on your communication skill, and you should understand that this is a team lead role, this is not an individual contributor role. So let's talk about the people skill. So clear statement. In clear statement, I'm telling you, if you are someone who does not like making friends or engage with humans, don't try to become a Scrum Master. This role requires a high level of interpersonal skills. You will be engaging with stakeholders, you will be engaging with product owner, and you will be engaging with developers. So you should be comfortable in engaging with humans. Okay, a high level of people skill will be required. Second reason why you should have a people skill is, if you are making an industry transition, let us say sales to IT industry, already you don't understand anything what's going on in a project. Plus, if you don't have a good people skill, then your team itself will not like you. Always remember, if your team likes you, it will give you some time to understand the project and then engage in a discussion with them. But if they don't like you in the first place, they will not even give you any opportunity to understand the project. Okay, so people skill is very important. The second is the communication skill. When I say communication skill, I do not mean that your English should be very fluent. When I say communication skill, I mean that you should know how to explain agile concepts to a stakeholder, to a developer, and to a product owner. If you are explaining, let us say, a sprint to a stakeholder, then its definition, the way you will be explaining sprint to a stakeholder will be totally different than the way you explain a sprint to a PO or a developer. So you should understand the role with which you are engaging, and based on that role, you should know how to communicate and how to explain these concepts. Okay, so you should know. So basically, you should know how to explain one concept in 3 or 4 different ways based on the profile with whom you are interacting. So that's the communication skill. Okay, and this kind of explanation you will get only if your fundamental stage is done properly. Okay, so this is the second skill, communication skill. If you don't like to talk with other people, don't come into this role. It will be terrible choice. If you are introvert and you don't like to communicate, if you don't speak, if you don't engage with other people, if you don't like talking with them, if you don't like sharing stuff with other people, this will be a horrible choice for you. So don't come, or don't try to become as a scrum master. Don't try to become a scrum master, sorry. The final point is related to the nature of this role. This is a mid-senior position, as I have already told you. This is like a team lead. You are not working as an individual contributor now. Okay, so nobody is going to come and tell you what you're supposed to be working on. In fact, you should be going ahead and you should be managing your team. You should be helping them understand their work. Okay, so why I have specifically mentioned this point on this slide is because one of my clients have faced this situation. He was a tester and he joined a company as a scrum master after my training. Okay, within 3 months he got fired, and the reason was not that he did not understand scrum or anything. The reason was he was waiting there for some manager to come and assign him some work, right? So everybody understood, like, he had zero experience, so they had to release him early. And since then I always tell people to understand the nature of this role, the mindset of this role. Therefore I always tell people, begin with the fundamentals. Don't directly jump into the practical, or don't directly go and learn Jira. If your fundamentals are clear, you will understand this role and you will not be making mistakes like this client of mine. Therefore, please understand, this is not an individual contributor role, this is a team lead role, and you should be comfortable in managing other humans. All right, I hope these essential skills are very clear to you, and I hope you found this discussion useful. Now moving to the final slide, which is the master tips slide. So these 3 pointers are coming from my first hand experience. Okay, as I told you, I have trained many people. These people are now working in companies like TCS, Infosys. Many of them are non-technical in nature. I have international clients also. I have trained people from Singapore, UK, US. Yeah, so I have trained international clients as well. And based on my training experience, these 3 things are like insights that I have gained. The first one is, most of the people who are making industry transitions, that is, they are moving from sales to IT or banking to IT or manufacturing to IT, they prepare everything, but they are totally unaware of the cultural shock that they will be getting as soon as they enter into an IT company. Let me give you an example. See, as a salesperson, you have a certain way of working. Every day in the morning, you go out into the field, you engage with your potential customers, you try to sell them something, and if you sell them something, you just open your software and you make an entry like, this is the sale that I have made, and your work is done. Your role mostly revolves around personal engagement. But as soon as you become a scrum master, everything changes. You need not to go to the field anymore. You need to enter into a company and you need to swipe your card on the gate before you can before you can just enter that premise. Okay, once you reach to your floor, you will be surrounded by people who are speaking totally different language. People are talking about code, functions, ops, AI, cloud, infra, network. All these terms, all these vocabularies are very, very overwhelming. And if you're not prepared for this cultural shock, you will be demotivated, you will be demoralized, and you will have panic attacks, I'm telling you. Okay, so most of the people are not prepared for the cultural shock, specifically people who are making industry transitions. So please be prepared for it, understand how things work, prepare these nitty-gritty stuff also. If you're someone who is trying to make such transition, I would highly encourage you to contact me, and I'll share more insights around it with you. So based on my experience, people who are making domain transition face less challenges. So if you are a quality person, if you are a tester or production support engineer, it will be very easy for you to make this transition. You can easily crack this interview. But I don't know why you guys have less confidence, maybe. I don't know what's the reason. But once you go through these training processes, once you prepare for the Scrum Master interview in this structure, the three stages that I have just discussed, you can very easily crack this interview. You're already in IT industry, you just need to understand this process and you can crack it. Based on my experience, like if I get clients who are tester or production support engineers, I'm happy because I know chances are very high that this client will make transition very easily. So this is the second insight that I gained based on my training experience. The third insight is it, it, it's a rare thing, to be very frank, but I have observed such kind of things happening. So this is related to project managers. Okay, nowadays project managers are expected to understand agile framework. Okay, and many project managers try to hire me or trainers like me to understand Scrum and Kanban and other agile frameworks, because ultimately agile is also a project management framework only, right? So when project managers try to understand agile framework, I don't know why, but they find it a little bit hard to accept agile values. And again, I'm telling you, these are very rare cases, but yes, I have observed project managers finding it hard to understand and accept agile values, maybe because they are trained on some other values. But yes, so if you are a project manager and you are trying to prepare for the Scrum Master role, or if you are trying to understand the Scrum Master role or Scrum framework, then I would suggest you just unlearn everything before you start learning this thing. You should not have resistance in your brain. Okay, if once you understand, so therefore I'm telling you, you should unlearn everything and then you start learning this thing. It will be easy for you to understand it, else you will always have conflicting thoughts and it will become very hard for you to prepare for the Scrum Master role within 15 to 20 days. Okay, so these were the master tips. I hope you found it useful. So as a next step, I'll be uploading fundamental class 1, and with that lecture my objective is to help you understand what kind of fundamental concepts I want you to understand and how I want you to understand those concepts. So I hope you view that class, and it will be valuable class for you. It will give you a good direction to prepare for the Scrum Master interview. And if you think you have more questions, if you want to engage with me, you can always contact with me. This is the email ID. And yeah, thank you so much for viewing this video, and I'll see you soon again.